Do you like horror? Do you like scary movies? Do you like scary videos? Whether you watch compilations of scary videos with the narrator documenting events caught on security footage or on video cameras from real-life people's events of exploring abandoned buildings, creepy encounters, or even dangerous life-threatening events, you might even watch those videos about someone narrating scary stories from Reddit posts, serial killers, possibly some creepypastas, or you might like to watch some fan-made horror films. But think back to when YouTube was really getting some attention back in the late 2000s to early 2010s. You might recognize these thumbnails in particular, with the title saying, "Real Ghost Caught on Tape." These videos were quite viral, of course. Many people like myself thought these videos were really creepy and believed to be real. But thankfully,
that's not the case.
However, these videos used to scare the hell out of me, especially when I had nightmares as a kid. And still kinda do. This is the somewhat infamous online series known as The Haunting, created by Mark Apsolon. Mark Apsolon is a professional videographer who started out his YouTube channel giving out certain tips and tricks videos on videography, mostly green screen stuff. He wasn't too well known for a whole lot else. But as soon as he began uploading a few simple little videos of a ghostly entity haunting him, it went viral, and thus began his own series. So in this video, I'm going to be doing my own personal review of the Haunting series, mainly because I haven't really seen any videos of people talking about it. But first, I do want to get into the whole main detail of the series formula. You're probably familiar with the whole format of these ghost videos, where the camera pans back and forth constantly to reveal a person, or ghost in this case. It's a simple editing trick, and I'll explain it in a bit. After these videos of Mark's got viral, many copycats on YouTube tried doing it themselves by doing their own take on the ghost girl craze.
It's dark, I'm looking through the monitor here. See if I can lighten it up. Oh, what the heck was that? Oh my god.
Not only that, they even stole the whole red circle clickbait gimmick in the thumbnail to show the ghost, just so they could get a lot of views.
Just in case you didn't see it, I used a red circle to help.
Ironically, I myself took inspiration from these videos as I tried making my own ghost hunting videos when I was a kid and had access to one of those bulky VHS camcorders. Yeah, those are a little cringe for me to watch now, but there is a little bit of inspiration that I got from our short film, Ghost Journalist Reawakening, that I put in there too.
Oh my god. Are you guys seeing this?
Mainly what Mark, or what I believe Mark was going for, was to make his own found footage series similar to the Blair Witch Project and other found footage movies. Funny enough, his earlier videos actually predated the film Paranormal Activity. Yeah, I should probably address these first three videos before we get into the full series. Now, these three videos in particular were Mark's first experimental ghost videos, or what I like to call the pilot episodes. These videos don't seem to follow the series of The Haunting, even though the first episode's introduction screen says File 1.0 Event 4, but anyway, they basically follow the same premise of the other videos. The first video that was uploaded on May 5th, 2009 surprisingly is the one that's the most different from the rest. For starters, we actually get to see the man in control of the camera at the beginning, at least for a brief moment. But take note, the entire series is not really intended to be Mark himself. But anyway, mainly the one thing that we don't really see a whole lot in the main series is seeing the camera actually glitch out like that, especially when something moves. There's only one occasion I recall where if the camera was close enough to an entity that appears just to jump scare the viewer and our protagonist, it does get blurry for a brief moment, but we never really see the camera's perspective really glitch out again. When we see Mark look around the kitchen, we hear a faint voice, and when the camera glitches out again, you can faintly see a black shadow move in the background, and the camera shuts off, as the text explains. It's an interesting start, and the effect with the glass moving on the floor is quite convincing enough, if you don't replay the exact clip over and over to see how it was really done. The next video is where it gets into more of its familiar territory. We start off in a fixed camera position where actually the camera isn't moving at all, but with the power of editing they can use a shake effect in the video to make it look like someone is shaking while holding the camera. You might see this trick being used a couple more times in the series as it progresses. Plus, another trick Mark does is shaking the camera up or even down frantically. This is another good editing trick that he uses for the video to make it look like that it was in the same shot, where you can just cut it and act like nothing happened. So here he claims there were no strings or attachments to the remote control that was moving, then for no reason pans to the floor where we see the ghost girl for the first time sitting on the floor. Then he quickly pans to the dark hallway where the girl reappears again. This is another trick Mark does constantly throughout the series to make it look like the girl appears in more places than once. This is basically a trick I learned myself called swish pan. You'll see this happen countless times whenever the ghost appears and disappears out of will. It's definitely a good trick and one of those blink and you'll miss it type of things. As for the ghost girl herself, who is played by Mark's daughter, she's really creepy. Just a little girl in a white dress with long black hair hiding her face just standing there motionless is quite unsettling, but at the same time could just be copying the same style from the girl from The Ring or The Grudge. The style is pretty well known in the horror community, especially with goth girls, as you might see this look of a ghost girl mocked on covers of books or DVDs. The third video is where it gets more creepy. Once again, Mark just uses a string or whatever to move a juice bottle over the edge. As soon as it falls over, the entity shows herself, and he actually sees it. It's actually quite terrifying, to be honest. Then, as he exits the room, the girl appears again in the hall, and afterwards, he hears screams.
Screaming.
Not much else to say about this one. Now, moving on to the actual series of The Haunting. The first episode that was uploaded on October 29th, 2009 is the one a lot of people are familiar with. As of this video, it currently holds 55 million views. There's not much to show about this one other than the door shutting and the ghost girl showing itself and disappearing. But our protagonist claims to see a white sheet move, which I clearly didn't see. But let's be honest here, basements are creepy no matter what. One funny thing to note, whenever the character sees anything creepy or anything that scares him, he tends to breathe very heavily and repeatedly. Honestly, if you were that scared, would you really breathe like that?
No one, when they're in a situation where they're scared and they're frantically turning on a camera, goes...
The sequel, which was also quite viral, holds 54 million views as of now, and was uploaded almost a year later on September 10th, 2010. The camera quality changes, which gives it more of a realistic look of a cheaper looking camera. But as you can see in the reflection in the mirror, he's using a larger camera that people tend to use for filmmaking, hence the reason why Mark is a professional videographer. But at the same time, it feels a bit odd for him to be walking around with this large bulky camera as opposed to a smaller video camera anybody else would have used. But anyway, the main event for this video's popularity is the creepy trick of the ghost girl appearing in two different places at once, then vanishes. I think the camera's quality really sells it here with how eerie the effect is pulled off. But one thing that is a little ridiculous is when the video wraps up. The end card abruptly comes out of nowhere with loud blaring music. Eventually, the music would be more calm for the other videos, but even a couple of the intros had the same loud music. Also, if you're wondering what kind of music it is, it's ripped from the soundtrack of a 1995 full moon production called Castle Freak. Funny enough, this video managed to get enough attention from the show Fact or Faked Paranormal Files, which was a show I loved watching when it was on. All they showed was the investigation team reviewing the video, and they all came to the conclusion that it was special effects after they noticed Mark's camera in the mirror's reflection is more professional looking than a normal video camera. Part 3 tried something a bit different that we don't really see happen in the entire series. Once the ghost shows itself around the corner, our protagonist runs towards the ghost and it vanishes. Surprisingly, even when slowed down to see how the trick is done, it's very convincing. The next couple episodes aren't really too special. Obviously, Mark wanted to try the same technique that Paranormal Activity did with filming him sleep the entire night to see if anything happens. I guess you could also say we're introduced to another character, if you can even call her that, our protagonist's wife, who only appears in a couple of the videos. She's completely superfluous and really serves no purpose, to be honest. Sometimes our character mentions her, stating that she's at work or using the phrase we whenever he's stating him about the house. But yeah, there's not really any point of her being there. Just pretend she's not even part of the story, because mainly it's just the man in the camera and the ghost pretty much. But yeah, with these videos, you're not really missing much if you skip, as both of them tend to blend in together. Part 6 isn't anything too special either, really, just showing that objects tend to move quite abnormally, and even the ghost is barely visible. Part 7 gets a bit more interesting. The background music comes back since the first episode, mainly just because I think to add more of a jump scare effect to when the ghost girl attacks our protagonist. Though it's a little cheap to add music, I think it makes sense to add it. Mainly because when Mark uploaded a 5-part compilation of the series, in the part 1 video, there's a version of the episode without the music.
Someone in the viewfinder. Oh, ow! Someone in the viewfinder.
So yeah, without the music, it doesn't have the same effect, to be honest. Anyway, we see the ghost attacks our character by biting him on his arms, which is something that doesn't really happen again. Part 8 delves more into a story and gives a history of the house and a possible name for our ghost girl, which our protagonist calls the ghost Madeline Longacre. I won't talk about the whole history and backstory of Madeline or her family. You can just watch the videos for yourselves if you want to know more about it. You'll probably also notice that the camera's quality tends to look better around here and even later in the series, which for me kinda ruins the whole idea of the series being found footage. I just think it's better when the camera footage looks more low quality rather than high, because high quality makes it look too professional looking. Plus, later in the series, you'll tend to see where it makes the editing cuts for the ghost to appear. Part 9 is where our character tries to communicate with the ghost by writing on a piece of paper, and it doesn't go as well as he thinks.
What do you want? Die?
Part 10 is where Mark tries out some new editing tricks. We see the camera at a fixed position with a shake effect, and we see the ghost run through the door. We also briefly see the ghost levitating, which I have no idea how he was able to do, but it's quite creepy. Part 11 isn't too special. It does something similar to the bedroom recordings, but in the living room, so you're not really missing much. Just more tricks for Mark to try out. Part 12 isn't too memorable for me. However, Mark tries a couple tricks where the tissues move on the ground, and even the window blinds move, which I have no idea how he did that, but it's very convincing. If anyone knows how that's done, please let me know in the comments. The next part is where our character tries to communicate with the ghost by using a Ouija board, which obviously is never a good idea, but we basically see the camera at a fixed position with the shake effect yet again, just to see the planchette move to either yes or no. In part 14, we see our character had done some digging in the basement where he ends up finding a couple items. A little doll that shows up every now and then in the series, and a little music box which doesn't really serve any purpose other than to later show that our protagonist uses it to hold a couple small newspaper articles revealing more to the story behind the ghost's family.
Number 15.
This episode doesn't really show anything special, just on how the doll can move on its own when the camera isn't facing towards it. And I believe this is the last part where we see our protagonist's wife. In the next part, our character finds a couple newspaper articles from the doll and tells the story about it, while the ghost, for whatever reason, lures him into the basement. The next episode shows our character stating that the ghost likes to place his wife's button collection all over the stairs. I have no idea as to why the ghost would want to do this, and it's never really brought up ever again in this series. The stairs, of course, are constantly mentioned through the series because it's somewhat related to the backstory of the Longacre family, but with this episode we just see him putting away the button slowly and we get a brief look at the ghost for 1 second, so yeah, there's nothing much to this one but filler, I guess. Part 18 has our character tell more about the story from another article, which for some reason he decides to tell in the stairs leading to the basement. But anyway, afterwards the ghost decides to scare him by turning the lights off and on, and revealing herself, and that's it. Also, it's around here that occasionally you can hear some creepy voices in the background if you listen closely. Sometimes the opening title cards show the marks for when and where in the video you might hear the sound or voice. Part 19 is pretty forgettable for me, but Mark's character uses baby powder to try and show any footprints that the ghost might leave behind. Episode 20, titled A Scary Story, which is a really goofy title. Also, what happened to the A here? But anyway, it shows our character walk up the stairs and we see him next to the ghost in the reflection of the mirror a couple times. There's also a sort of post scene at the end of the episode where he begins to theorize a more probable backstory about Madeline, but also name drops another YouTube channel that relates to ghosts.
Haunted Sunshine Girl.
Odd bit of a shout out, if you can even call it that. The next two episodes that are connected feature something quite different. With the first part, it shows our character had been doing some more digging in the basement and reveals to find human bones in the ground. All we really see is just a prop Halloween skull and bone fragments. So, in seeing this and freaking out like crazy, he decides to call the police and report it. This particular episode would also be the first video where we don't even see the ghost girl. However, in the next part, he explains that the police arrived on scene, but wouldn't allow him to record the event when they were present. Plus, the bones, of course, miraculously disappear. However, next to where the bones were found, he finds a diary and a strange bottle that's sealed in wax, which we'll get into later. But at least the ghost girl's back like normal. In episode 23, Mark, who I'll just refer to as Mark from here on out because I'm tired of calling him as a nameless protagonist, but anywho, he finds an old photo from the diary that looks like it was taken in the 1800s. Of course, we don't know whether this is Madeline, her mother, or her sister that was previously mentioned in earlier episodes, Sophia. Then he reads some writing from the diary and tells more of the story. Episode 24 is quite a unique one. So Mark reads more from the diary, but afterwards he feels something touch him, but he can't move. After a few seconds, he grabs the camera and suddenly the entire room is engulfed in smoke. I'm not sure how he pulled this effect, but I'm just assuming that he used a fog machine and cut from it once he got as much footage as he needed. It always fascinated me when I watched this specific episode. I guess I should also address the purpose of all the smoke. Throughout the story of the series, there is a theme of burning where supposedly Madeline and her family was involved in some sort of cult, and it's hinted that either the house they lived in burned down or that Madeline was burned, so that's mainly the reason for why there's smoke for a brief moment. But once again, this is another strange event that never happens again. In the next episode, Mark tries to attempt to make a spell, I guess to communicate with the ghost by using objects, 2 wooden chairs, and reciting some words I guess he found online. Afterwards, he hears a strange sound, and then the ghost spooks him again. Episode 26 is where it gets pretty silly. He finds some DVD hidden in the storage of the basement which contains a creepy video. If you want to watch the video, Mark uploaded it separately on his channel. Episode 27 isn't anything too crazy. He just uses the video he watched from the previous episode and listens to the creepy audio in reverse to reveal some things said backwards. Episode 28 is actually an interesting one. For a long while, this particular video was deleted from Mark's channel for unknown reasons and was considered lost for a while. There was a Reddit post I saw that even brought up stating that between 2018 and 2022, it was deleted. Even when Mark himself made the 5-part compilation videos of the Haunting series, Part 3 had that specific episode that was also mysteriously deleted for whatever reason. As of now, we still don't know as to why they were deleted. Maybe because of the music in the background being a copyright strike on YouTube or something, but who knows. Funny enough, it wouldn't be the only video deleted. There was a lost tape video that was also mysteriously deleted, but thankfully it's still available in the lost tapes compilation that Mark uploaded himself. But I don't think it has all of the lost tapes. Yeah, we'll get into those a little later.
Are you going to come say hello to me? Are you going to come say hello to me?
But thankfully, we are able to view this particular episode thanks to a channel by the name of Sunrise Librarian, who uploaded the entire first series into one huge compilation, and even uploaded the lost tapes too. So thank you very much, Sunrise Librarian, for restoring this episode that seemed to be lost. Anyway, back to the episode. Funny enough, nothing really major happens. Mark just tells more about what he read in the diary and theorizes about it, and the ghost girl just spooks him again. The next episode would be the last time we would see this house before they move into a different one. But in here, Mark determines whether he should open the strange bottle or not. That's about it. The ghost girl spooks him once again, and that's it. Episode 30 was the video I was waiting for and was looking forward to for quite a while, way back in late 2011, when these videos were then being uploaded around early 2012. There wasn't much to this one exactly. Mark just shows the new house they moved into, but as you can see if you look closely, the ghost girl seems to have followed him. The next episode shows that the ghost is back. Mark explains that when they began to move, the items that are connected to the ghost, like the bottle, the doll, and the music box, disappeared, but he just assumed they were thrown away. But lo and behold, the music box returns with a strange ring that we hadn't seen before and doesn't come back ever. But the other items have still yet to be found. Episode 32 is where things get a bit strange. All of a sudden, these strange and eerie sounds come from out of nowhere and echo for quite a while.
What the hell is that?
Not only that, but now we begin to see what seems to be a really creepy looking darker form of the ghost girl. Is this the same ghost, or maybe something else entirely? The next episode shows that the bottle is broken, so Mark isn't quite sure what to think of it. Once again, the strange and large dark figure lurking in the background shows up. Around here, I'm beginning to think that this is where the dark figure we're seeing is something else entirely, and possibly was trapped inside of the bottle. In the next part, Mark tries to look into more research of the ghosts, and all he can gather is that the family was possibly involved in a cult. The next episode is pretty much a rehash of the previous one, but this time he begins to think that the demon was in the bottle, and the doll also returns. Episode 36, The Ritual, is separated into 4 parts, labeled from tape 35.1 to 35.4. The first part starts off with him at his home talking about the strange location in the woods of the creepy video he saw a few episodes ago. He talks about going there to try and find where the cult may have taken place. Why he needs to go there is anyone's guess. I'd assume that he tried to stop the ghost or something, just to stop all the ghosts, but no, I think he's just going there just to document it. Also, once the second part starts, the intros change from here on out. So then the next 3 parts just has him recording himself walking and walking deeper into the woods. This is basically where I was beginning to lose interest in the series around this point, because it felt really out of place just to go out of the house, outside, and in the day just to record a place where a supposed cult was being held a long time ago. It felt kind of dumb for the most part. It doesn't help that the videos that are connected show a shaky camera hobbling around the woods. It's like I'm watching someone's hiking POV, or perhaps a recreation of Slender the Arrival. But eventually he finds the cave from the creepy video, and I guess he just records whatever happens, I suppose. I'm sorry, there's nothing that I can work from on these parts. It's just boring for me. In episode 37, we see Mark back at his home determining that this demon called Lamashtu probably has control of Madeline, or whoever the ghost girl is. Then suddenly the ghost appears frantically just to spook him out. Now it's after this episode where all the other episodes begin to basically blend in with each other. By that I mean Mark pretty much just wanders around his house, and whenever the ghost appears, he gets creeped out, runs away, and looks back to see if it's there or not. But at least the only different thing that happens here is that the ghost girl begins to crawl on the floor now. In episode 39, we hear the strange sound again, and we even get to see the ghost girl and the dark figure in the same shot. Very creepy, actually. But then the rest of the episode has the girl crawling towards Mark, he runs away from it, and yeah, not much else to say. In the next episode, Mark tries to communicate with the demon, and then the whole house begins to shake. The ghost girl appears, he runs away, and wanders around. Repeat. In episode 41, Mark determines that Madeline's parents were involved in a cult trying to put an end to it, or something to that effect. I don't know, I lost interest around 7 episodes ago. Episode 42, The Lamashtu Rite, is separated into 6 parts. Ugh. Honestly, these particular episodes, I can't even tell what's going on now. It's like he's being attacked by the demon in the basement, or somewhere in the house. I'm not entirely sure. Everything you hear is off camera, and all we hear is the sounds of Mark struggling like he's being strangled, and all we can see is the reflection of a flashlight up against a wall. Eventually he's back to wandering around the house again. The ghost girl appears, he runs away and wanders around. Repeat. But one noticeable different thing we do see is that we see the ghost girl wearing a rabbit mask for a brief moment. Quite creepy, actually. Then we see him looking over the previously recorded footage, doing the whole listening to audio in reverse trick again, and then by part 6 we see him looking at a smaller video camera where apparently he recorded himself talking in a demonic-like language, which of course he has no memory of doing it. The 43rd and final episode of this series is a mixed bag for me. The ghost girl appears multiple times more than usual, and Mark runs away and it repeats a few times. Afterwards, the strange sounds return again, but it appears to be coming from outside. But then, as soon as he opens the door, you hear the ear-splitting sound cranked up to 111. The camera glitches out a lot, then the ghost girl appears with the rabbit mask again, and then it's implied that the character dies as the ghosts take over. I guess. Soon after the last episode was uploaded, Mark made a series review video discussing the entire series and wanting to answer people's questions from the comments section that would be discussed in his next video. He then talks about his upcoming projects he would release soon, such as a second season and the Lost Tapes.
And also add me on Google+. Also, definitely add me on Google+, because I don't have a lot of people over there yet.
Is Google Plus even still a thing? Like, whoever used that? That thing is as obsolete as MySpace. Actually, is MySpace even a thing too? That thing is as obsolete as... Plus, he even talks about a possible Kickstarter movie project that wouldn't be free, where you would actually have to pay to see it.
Would you rent here on YouTube a 30-minute short film based on the Haunting series? It would still be a hard tell, of course, but it would not be free. And I'm thinking about making the rental around $3.
Yeah, I don't know. Paying $3 just to see... Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I haven't even seen any evidence to show this project even surfacing. Well, in his Q&A video, he explains that the ghost girl was played by his daughter, the skull was just a prop from a Halloween store, why the ghost was wearing a bunny mask, and he would eventually release the Lost Tapes, to which one tape explains how the bottle was broken. But I won't bore you any longer about the Lost Tapes, the second season, or even the other series titled The Sister Mary Incident. All I can say about them is, it's boring as hell. I'm sorry, after the last episode of the series, it's definitely where its popularity was dying off. The quality of the videos was getting too good looking, the editing looked choppy, and the backstory plot was thrown out the window after episode 41. Plus, the other series videos looked too lazily put together, and I guess this is where Mark was just bored one night, wandered around, and asked his daughter to play the ghost for a couple nights, and that's the video. I don't know. Again, I began to lose interest and moved on to other things eventually.
This is called the pointless recording.
It's maybe one of those pointless tapes where I just jump around and do absolutely nothing.
Yeah. It's a bit of a shame because I really enjoyed this series, and plus the ghost girl always creeped me out, but as soon as they moved into a new home, the series kind of went downhill for me, unfortunately. Not only that, Mark hasn't uploaded a video since 2018. That particular video just has him mention crypto for whatever reason, and then the ghost girl appears. As you can probably tell in the video, the ghost girl appears to be shorter and looks motionless, appearing more like a stiff model, and not even showing its legs. I'm assuming this is when Mark's daughter decided to move on with her life and actually move out, so Mark had to find some kind of replacement probably. I wouldn't be surprised if he just found a traffic cone, dressed it up like the ghost girl, and called it a day. To wrap things up, I enjoy the Haunting series, at least the first half of it in the first house. It's truly a creepy and eerie experience. I say stick with that. But if you really can't get enough of jittery camera movement and wandering around a house for hours and occasionally seeing a ghost, then go ahead and watch the Lost Tapes, the second season, and if you really want, the Sister Mary Incident series. Overall, the Haunting series is very nostalgic for me, and will probably still give me occasional nightmares. And maybe if I ever work on any other projects in the future, I might still take some inspiration from this series. But who knows, maybe Mark will come back someday and surprise us with a completely different video, or maybe the same thing. Well, in the meantime, I'm in the mood for some Burger King. I've always wanted to try those like ghost pepper seasoned foods. I wonder if they're still out. Alright, well, I'll see you next time.